So who are you?
Hi, I'm Chuck Dietrich. I came over to SlideRocket as the CEO about 6 months ago from a 9-year career at Salesforce.com.
Yeah, I just heard that SlideRocket is the official presentation tool of South by Southwest.
That's right. Yeah.
Why? Why wouldn't they just stick with PowerPoint? Yeah.
Well, I think the same reason you haven't stuck with email.
Yeah.
You've evolved and you've moved beyond, and PowerPoint is really, it's 20 to 25-year-old technology. It's static content. It's essentially a digital brochure. And this notion, South by Southwest, is extremely innovative. And this whole notion that moving things to the cloud and web-based, and what we're all about is web-based presentations. So what we want to do is give the presenters, the panelists at South by Southwest, a way that they can put together extremely engaging presentations that interact with the audience and get the audience really engaged in what they're saying. And then after the event, to manage that content, that presentation, and distribute it and share it with thousands of websites, and then centrally update that from one location. So they have a new feature in their product. They update the slide on their product feature and it spirals across the thousands of places in the internet it is. And those are just some of the functionality. But I think South by Southwest is all about innovation, and we are an innovative approach to presentations.
Because I know with presentations, people spend hours, doing their slides and getting everything to look right and flow right, and they time it and everything. And people are so familiar with the tools they're using, whether it's Apple Keynote or Microsoft PowerPoint, that switching to a new tool sounds really scary.
Yeah.
What do I get if I switch?
Yeah. So let's talk about it first.
Like 5 things. What do I get when I switch? What's the payoff? Because there's got to be a payoff.
The payoff is you turn creating slides from being work into being fun. And the way we've done that is we've been able to present a very innovative authoring user interface that's contextual. So for example, if you have a picture on your slide, when you select that picture, the entire menu changes. You lose all the things you can do with text because they're not relevant. So by doing so, what we do is we surface all of the relevant functionality, changing the opacity of the picture, making the picture revel like a flag. These things that you'd never discover in PowerPoint unless you're an uber power user.
Yeah.
We bring those right to light. So what we can do is we can turn a general sales rep or a very low-tech marketing person into this innovative person who can make beautiful presentations.
Yeah.
So that's on the authoring side. So they get a great authoring experience.
Now, I think the viewers at home are watching our screen. So what can you explain while you're telling me these five payoffs, what we're seeing?
This is a great example. So we literally spun this up this morning. We were like, let's build something that we can speak to, thinking that this is what you'd want to talk to. So in this instance, you can see we have your photo selected. You can see that the right hand, the menu on the right side of the screen is all the things that you can do with a photo. Now, if we change to, let's say text or to a flash image, you see everything's changing. So everything becomes contextual. Yeah. And what that allows you to do is to discover things that you never would have discovered in other solutions, like PowerPoint or Keynote. And embrace those and start doing things which make your presentations extremely engaging for the audience. So for South by Southwest attendees, hopefully they're glued to their seats. They wake up from the previous night's parties and they actually attend the events because they've seen great things.
So that's one thing, right?
That's
contextual UI.
Yeah,
it's really great. Number 2, what's number 2?
Number 2, the ability to use high definition video and audio and have it look very good. Number 3 would be we are not OS sensitive. So any event that anyone's been to, you've seen that presenter go in and they plug in their computer and they don't have the right PowerPoint installed, or they don't have the right Keynote, or there's some sort of compatibility issues. Yeah. We absolve
or your fonts don't look right. I've been on machines where I spend all night, making everything look great, and then I get to the machine that I have to present on and the fonts aren't working right or something's crazy.
Exactly. So, we're internet based. Now, of course, we have the ability to take what is essentially a flash file and download it as a standalone file So the internet goes out at South by Southwest. People can still present their presentation in all the fidelity that they would expect.
Okay.
Two more, I guess, we're at. One is the ability, as I mentioned earlier, to once you create that content, to have that content be centrally managed. So let's take this example. Robert Scoble no longer likes the photo of him at Half Moon Bay. He's all about the San Francisco Bay Bridge now, or the Golden Gate Bridge. He updates that in one library. That spirals across where it's embedded on his Facebook page, where it's embedded in the Robert Scoble blog, where it's embedded in his website. So this whole notion that the content in the slides is dynamic. It is referencing centralized assets.
This is what attracted me to SlideRocket when we came and saw you a year ago, because at Microsoft we had lots of PowerPoint slides, right? And Bill Gates would give a speech at CES or something like that, and people would copy a slide out of that deck and put it somewhere else, in another deck for a presentation to a client or whatnot. And that slide didn't have a live link to it. So if Bill updated that slide with new information, new sales figures or whatnot, my slide deck had the old information on the old slide. And in SlideRocket, if we both had SlideRocket, if he updated the slide on his deck, it automatically updates on the slide on my deck.
Right. And that's
killer. It's a killer feature.
And it's what really brought me to SlideRocket was that I got hit by a bag of bricks when I realized, wow, presentations, there's 40 million created or delivered a day.
Yeah.
Probably second to email, the most commonly used business application. And it is one of the least innovative technologies. If you think about the ecosystems that have formed around websites, companies like Omniture, $2 billion. And there's thousands of these companies that formed around websites, which are a marketing tool, a sales and marketing tool. And then you look at the email space. There's Constant Contact, Vertical Responses, Eloqua, Marketo. All these companies have formed around adding to the experience of email. But presentations, which are arguably the second most commonly used business applications, have just been somewhat ignored. And that's really what our focus is to bring the internet technologies, be it analytics of knowing who's looking at your slides, the ability to centrally manage and update, putting security around your presentations, making them look beautiful. And giving that all to presentations.
What's the number, 5?
So the last one would be the analytics. And the analytics are actually really powerful.
Do you have an example of an analytics so we can see what that looks like?
Yeah, let's look at the analytics on your presentation.
Yeah.
Because I sent it around to a couple of people right before we started here. Just a couple of people around the office. Just to see what they thought of it. And actually it'll be telling to see if they made it through the presentation, where they focused. And you can imagine if you have a product or services company, if you're trying to sell someone product A or B, if you see that they've opened it 5 times, they spend all their time on product A slides or the group of 5 slides, as a sales rep when you call them, you're going to talk about product A. So as you start to organize your content around knowing that you're going to have analytics, it becomes a very powerful thing.
So, and this is a change in presentations too from the PowerPoint age, right? PowerPoint, you assumed you were giving a presentation in front of an audience, and then the deck would go back on your computer and nobody would use it. Now we post those things on the web, right?
They're everywhere.
And South by Southwest is going to put our presentations up on the web or put a link to the presentation slides, and that's why it's so important to have the updatability, because people are going to start copying slides from each other. And you want to make sure if I copy a slide out of your deck and use it in my deck, that it stays up to date.
Exactly.
That's really cool.
And now another thing is, if I could lay out a 6, and we can. This is, I think, something interesting to demo is frequently you.
Anyway, so back on that. Sorry.
Yeah. Analytics.
And we'll get to number 6 on analytics. What are we seeing here?
So I can see that this presentation has been viewed 12 times by 7 different people as a summary right there. It looks like most of the people are spending their time on slide 2, which makes sense because there's a nice video embedded in slide 2. I can click to the details, and I can start to scroll through and see that, let's say, Min looked at it, and she spent her time. Let's go down to Tara, 2 down here. Now, it looks like Tara didn't spend much time at all and seemed to drop off. Or maybe the person never opened the presentation. It becomes very interesting information to know as a sales or marketing professional Marketing, of course, can create slides that are more engaging because they can look at the macro view, just like they would at a website. Are people spending time on this page?
Yeah.
And these are just tools that presentations should have. It's the internet. It's about making it alive and engaging and interactive.
Very cool. Number 6.
So number 6, audio. So this is this whole notion that presentations are done 2 ways. Either I sit in front of you or in a large audience and I present a message. But more often than not, as you just mentioned, those presentations are being circulated on the internet.
Yeah.
So
there's even a site called SlideShare, right? SlideShare,
right,
where you can share your presentations as a community. Right?
Exactly. It's like a YouTube for, instead of videos, for slides.
Yeah.
It's a great repository. Now, the thing that presentation authors need is the ability to convey a message even if they're not standing there in front of the presentation.
Right.
So we have a gentleman by the name of Carmine Gallo, for example. He's written a lot of books, similar to what Guy Kawasaki writes. Presentation Secrets of Steve Jobs is one of the ones that just came out.
Yeah.
He's created, you can see on the screen here, this on-demand presentation, which essentially is kind of the cliff notes for his book. And he can keep the presentation full of great visuals and have a very descriptive audio track. So maybe turn up the audio on that a little bit.
It's hard to hear in the room, but so
presentations have become theatrical experiences.
So he's laid down an audio. He's recorded his presentation to go along with each slide.
Yep.
So you click on a slide and you'll hear him give the presentation that goes along with the slide.
Right. And now this is just a feature, right? And is that possible to do in PowerPoint? Yeah, it's about a 20-step process. What we're focused on, and what everything on the internet, all the companies you cover have to be laser focused on ease of use.
Yeah.
So let's show you how that's done, because it takes a second. So let's go back to the scope of presentation here.
All right.
We have a little audio track. You can see it down at the bottom here with the green line.
Yeah.
We could preview that really quick. I recorded this right before you walked in.
And you have effects as the animations come in and stuff.
So right, animations you can tie a soundtrack to. You can tie a soundtrack to builds. But what we're trying to do is give the non-technical salesperson, give the person in training who needs to make a training presentation, give the person in customer support who's trying to explain how to sync your iPhone with your laptop and doesn't want to type out 1,000 bullets and lose them. They want to keep the visuals on the screen and have the descriptive audio. So it's as simple as doing this. So we just simply hit the record button.
Yep. And then I can give a presentation and talk about all the hot startups like Boxy, which we just videoed yesterday.
Right.
And Boxy's a Boxy. You hook up to your HD screen. I can explain it and tell you all about it, and it would record the audio and
and we do it based on the build. So, like for example, we put slide 2 in here. Has got it's your top. We thought an interesting presentation would be you talking about the startups to watch in 2010.
Yeah.
And we make it really easy to really give a punch to your presentation by, once you press start recording, it's going to time your builds to your audio. So as you're speaking and you click, the build comes in. So you could say, introducing the hot startups of 2010, click, and then the next build comes in. So you can make it, very punchy and poppy, and it's as simple as just driving through it.
Now, if I'm presenting at South by Southwest, I'm probably going to do my deck for presenting there. Then later that night, I probably would sit down and record the audio so that when it gets put up on the web, all the audio of me actually speaking would be there.
Yep. Or you could even record. You could record your audio track during the conference. It's really however you want to do it. If you want to give it the real, live feel, you could just record it there and then time your slides to it, which is extremely easy to do. Or you could, as Carmine Gallo did in his Steve Jobs presentation, he just built the slides, kept them full of beautiful images, and saved the bullet points for PowerPoint, and then just went through and recorded his audio tracks and hit the build button as the builds pop in and made a really engaging presentation.
Now, one thing I like about SlideRocket that we haven't talked about yet is that I can have live slides. Yeah. Right? With PowerPoint, I lay out the slide, but it can't show me something that's changing in the world. And one thing I loved about SlideRocket when I visited a year ago was you were able to pull in data from Salesforce and display that in a slide in real time, right? So if all of a sudden my sales went up, my chart changed, right?
Right.
Tell me a little bit about how I could use that at South by Southwest, those interactive live features.
Sure. So, a lot of our customers use this. They might have, let's say, pricing, right? Let's say they manage their pricing. Let's take a common web-based format like a Google spreadsheet. They're managing. Someone's got control of the pricing matrix in Google spreadsheet. That can dynamically feed into your slide that talks about your product.
Oh, really?
So you can dynamically control the accuracy of information. That's one way to do it.
Okay.
In the Salesforce example, Salesforce is great. It's web-based. We're completely web-based. The ability to pump information from one web application to the next, which is just like the Google example. Yeah. We have some even more interesting stuff coming out, which I think is going to be really interesting for the South by Southwest people, is polling. So
how does that work?
So SlideRocket, being a web-based system, we can partner with other web-based providers. Okay. So we've partnered and have this plugin architecture, which we showed a little bit to you last time we were here, where people can build plugins to SlideRocket. They can build effects, so it looks like your presentation is an old movie screen rolling over it. They can build things to automatically up the volume of the presentation or lay it to take full screen. And they can also do really interesting things like build a polling plugin.
Now, nobody's seen this before. This is a new feature, right?
Yeah, in fact, you asked, could we show you something when we came in? We said, well, we just started developing this. It'll be ready by Southwest, and here it is. And what we're doing here is the audience, and that's the folks behind us in the room, are texting, what is their favorite animal? It's like American Idol, right? Yeah. What's more engaging when you're giving a presentation than to engage the audience in participation? And on Twitter.
So I could ask my audience, are you going to buy the new Apple tablet? Yes or no, and they could just text their answer. Yeah. No, I think it sucks, or yes, I think it's awesome, and instantly on the screen you would see those
in real time. Wow. Yeah. And what's great for you is you know what to talk about next. Yeah. If you're the presenter, if everyone says the Apple tablet, is we're all going to buy one, you can go into why. So maybe your next slide is not about, it's contingent upon what the voting, which is another thing, is this notion of nonlinear presentations and, being able to let the audience take themselves where they want to in your presentation.
Now, a lot of the geeks at South by Southwest are probably way ahead of me and you, or normal business people. They've probably used tools like Prezi, sure, or seen a presentation where there's a canvas. It's not slides, it's a canvas, and it dives in on a certain point and dives out, and dives in on a picture and dives out. Yeah. It's really cool and interactive and animated. Can you do the same kind of thing?
Yeah, so Prezi is a great example of nonlinear navigation. Okay.
It takes some skill to do, though.
Yeah,
right?
you have a big canvas, and it's an authoring application to build an authoring experience. Again, authoring is one facet of what we're doing. We're really focused on the creation. If you can see, on the screen here, this is our sales presentation, and you see a navigation bar up top. And what that does is it's similar to what you think about a website is when you send someone an on-demand presentation, they don't necessarily just want to sit and go slide 1, slide 2, slide 3, slide 4. And that's not really helpful for you if you're getting analytics on that, because your analytics are going to be, wow, they looked at the first slide, second slide, third slide. Maybe they spent some time there, but it's not that telling. What's really telling is when you can give people the ability to navigate where they want to, let them easily find the information they want to find, get analytics on that, and then re-engage them the next time based on what they liked.
Okay.
So in this example, we've got this nonlinear presentation, which is about what SlideRocket is. And you can see that there's the presentation lifecycle, and you've got create, manage, share, and measure, which are our main value props. If someone's really focused on management, they can instantly go to that area. They can start to dive into it. So
this shows that a presentation, you can have different kinds of presentation. This to me looks like a website.
Very similar to a website.
And where at South by Southwest, I'm going for emotion. I'm going to show maybe just a slide of a picture, a photograph. Yeah. And then my next slide might have 5 words of text on it. And the next slide will have another photograph. That's very different than this kind of presentation style.
Absolutely. Right? So absolutely, presentations are created for different types of experiences. The ability, though, to let people navigate and go where they want to go in the on-demand presentation, not the sort of presentation that you're talking about that you'd present at South by Southwest, but after the event's over. Maybe you have a recording of your South by Southwest presentation, and maybe you want to have 3 links to additional presentations which talk about product A, product B, and product C. And then you start to use it as a lead generation tool.
Okay.
And start to engage your audience, and you even interact with them while they're viewing the presentation.
Very cool. Real fast, we have like a minute left. Give us a couple of tips of where should we start when a South by Southwest presenter first looks at SlideRocket? Because most of us haven't used it. What 3 things should we focus on and try to use?
So for South by Southwest, we're giving the panelists, and there's about 1,000 of the panelists, free accounts, because we really want them to get addicted to SlideRocket. And we also have special training set up for them. And they can find information on the South by Southwest interactive homepage, or they can find information on our blog about what we're doing with them. But even for people who aren't presenting at South by Southwest, what we encourage you to do is sign up for trial, import your PowerPoints if you have them. We'll suck them in.
And that's a key point. And so you have an importer. So if I have a deck already made in PowerPoint, it sucks it in. Do you also import from Keynote?
We don't import from Keynote. In fact, what a lot of our customers do is they'll convert to PowerPoint and then import. And building the import's pretty laborious. Yeah. So what we do is we import from PowerPoint. And when you import from PowerPoint, what we do is we just don't import it as a static image. So if we imported the slides that we just showed of Robert Scoble, we're going to suck Robert Scoble's picture into the asset library. We're going to suck the picture of the airplane and the flash file of the airplane into the asset library. As those start to get used in different presentations, they can be centrally managed. So we instantly give the people this notion of management. We suck the slides into a slide library so they can be dragged and dropped into other presentations. So sales reps can spend less time building presentations. They can drag a drop and symbol a presentation, send it out. So we offer free online training for any customer. We have regular training events. We have obviously a whole slew of SlideRocket tutorial presentations, which you can imagine they have a nice audio track over them about how to do all the point functionality.
Do you you'll probably have one how to do a poll, because I'm sure lots of speakers will want to try that feature now that you built that for South by Southwest.
Yeah, so we will surely create an on-demand session on how to embed polling in your presentations.
Okay. And number 3, any other tips that you have for how to make a great presentation and make people really happy and keep us out of the bars?
Yeah. Now, the tool is one thing, right? You have to present, which you've done a lot of presentations, so you've had a lot of presentation training. And there's 2 things to good presentations. There's the slides, and there's how you deliver them.
Yeah.
We have a very rich and deep blog on presentation tips. And we also have recorded monthly seminars from presentation experts, like Carmine Gallo, for example, who are talking about how to package a message and deliver it. Yeah. Carmine Gallo focuses on the Steve Jobs way. We have folks like Cliff Atkinson who focus on a little different methodology and how to use the back channel in your presentations. Yeah. And we have
That's really important at South by Southwest, by the way. Everybody in the audience is on Twitter and Facebook or Foursquare. I mean, they're using these tools to talk about you, and if you don't understand that's going on, you're going to hear feedback from the audience that you're not going to be prepared for.
Yeah. So Cliff Atkinson just recorded a great web seminar for the audience about how to manage the back channel.
We're running out of time, so where do we learn more about SlideRocket?
Just come to our website, SlideRocket.com. We've got a great Follow Us page, which has all of our blog information. You can sign up for a free trial. And if you're a South by Southwest presenter or panelist, you'll find information on our blog or on the interactive page by Southwest on how to get on and get started with your free account and how we'll help you.
Very cool.
Thanks a lot, Robert.
Thanks for inviting me over.
Thank you for coming.
Good luck at South by Southwest.
Great. We'll see you there.